In the quiet woods of northern France, a forgotten command post stands, its concrete walls cold, rainwater pooling on the floor. Once, this place pulsed with the urgency of war, maps spread, radios crackling, decisions sending thousands into motion. Now, only silence remains, a silence heavy with the echoes of history. One man understood this battlefield better than any, George S. Patton, Jr. He wielded fear as a weapon and manufactured courage. These outposts are monuments to psychological power, reminders that history is shaped by more than battles and treaties. The story of Patton is etched into these silent stones. In these woods, the echoes of Patton's legend still linger. General George S. Patton, Jr., pearl-handled revolvers, gleaming helmet, aggressive tactics, was more than a battlefield commander. He was a master of human nature, seeing war as a contest of wills. Patton wielded his personality as a psychological weapon, every action and speech part of a larger strategy. From the start, he cultivated an image of ferocity and invincibility, a showman using theatre to inspire and intimidate. His flamboyance was calculated, designed to make his men believe in him, and to make the enemy fear him. Patton crafted a legend that preceded him onto the battlefield. While others focused on logistics, Patton focused on morale. He knew a soldier who believed in his commander would fight harder, and an enemy who feared him was already half defeated. Patton's genius was recognizing the human mind as the most critical terrain. He set out to conquer it relentlessly. He was not just a general, but a master of perception. His approach was holistic, uniform, posture, language, all part of his psychological campaign. Patton built a reputation that fought for him. He turned himself into a weapon as real and effective as any division of tanks. His legend became a force multiplier. Patton's war was fought as much in the mind as on the battlefield. He understood that victory began with belief, his men's, and his enemies'. The general became the weapon, and the weapon was fear. Patton's diaries reveal a man obsessed with morale, the greatest factor in war, he believed. To him, morale was tangible, something to be built and deployed. A commander's duty was to be the architect of his soldiers' spirits, forging confidence and purpose to withstand combat. Patton studied history, learning that great leaders were visible, shared hardships, and spoke directly to their men. He believed courage was contagious, and he had to be its source. His speeches were raw and honest, transforming fear into fighting spirit. He told his men, "It's natural to be afraid, but you cannot let fear master you." Patton insisted on discipline, uniforms, shined boots, sharp salutes, not as tyranny but as psychological conditioning. These details instilled pride and professionalism, reminding each soldier he was part of an elite force. Patton built a culture of success, one polished boot at a time. He was the architect of his army's soul. Morale was not abstract, it was the foundation of victory. Patton's leadership was a daily act of building belief. He shaped his men's minds as carefully as any battle plan. The spirit he forged was his greatest weapon. In war, morale is the difference between collapse and triumph. Patton made sure his army always chose triumph. While many generals stayed behind the lines, Patton practiced visible leadership. He belonged at the front, sharing risks and witnessing bravery firsthand. His command jeep, with blaring sirens and flags, was a moving symbol of his presence. For weary soldiers, seeing Patton was a powerful morale boost, a sign they were seen and valued. His presence said, "I am with you, I trust you, I expect you to win." This bond inspired fierce loyalty and determination. Patton's presence also unsettled the enemy. German intelligence tracked his movements, seeing him as a harbinger of major offensives. His reputation alone could cause panic and force the enemy to adjust plans. Patton used his own body as a piece on the chessboard, a strategic factor in itself. The risks were real, he was often under fire, but he believed courage flowed from the top down. If his men saw him as fearless, they would find their own courage. His presence was a calculated performance of bravery. It sent a powerful silent message to both armies. Patton's strategy of presence was as effective as any weapon. He led from the front, and his men followed. Patton's demands for surrender were masterpieces of psychological warfare. They detailed overwhelming force, artillery, tanks, reconnaissance, leaving no doubt of the enemy's hopeless position. His language was confident and direct: surrender honorably and be treated well, or face total destruction. The threat was explicit, and Patton's reputation made it believable. These ultimatums often led German commanders to capitulate, recognizing resistance was futile. Patton allowed the enemy to save face, surrendering to certainty, not possibility. He used logic and fear in equal measure. Surrender became the only rational choice. Patton won battles with a typewriter as surely as with tanks. His words broke resistance before the first shot. The pen in Patton's hands was a weapon of war. For Patton, speed was a psychological weapon. His Third Army advanced relentlessly, never giving the enemy time to regroup. Constant pressure shattered enemy morale, creating chaos and panic. Patton's divisions bypassed strongpoints, striking deep and fast, unraveling defenses. The psychological impact was devastating. German soldiers felt surrounded, their plans always a step behind. This bred helplessness and the sense that resistance was pointless. Patton wasn't just capturing territory, he was capturing minds. For his own men, the rapid advance created a sense of invincibility. Success fueled aggression and risk-taking. The army became an unstoppable force driven by momentum. Patton's speed demoralized the enemy and inspired his troops. It was a virtuous cycle. Doubt for the enemy, confidence for his men. Speed was more than movement. It was psychological dominance. Patton raced toward victory in the mind as well as on the map. Patton's legendary profanity was no accident. It was a leadership tool. He spoke the language of his men, plain, direct, forceful. This closed the gap between general and soldier, making him seem authentic and approachable. Patton's raw language forged trust and camaraderie, showing he was in the fight with them. His profanity emphasized the brutal reality of war. No sugarcoating, just honesty. This resonated with soldiers who lived that reality daily. Patton's words validated their experience and showed he understood. His approach shocked some, but he wasn't speaking to the high command, he was speaking to his men. He used every tool to motivate them to face death and defeat the enemy. Patton identified the most effective communication for his audience and used it unapologetically. His calculated use of profanity was part of his psychological arsenal. It connected him to his army and controlled their emotional state. Patton's language was as much a weapon as his tanks. He led with words that matched the reality of war. The curse was calculated, and it worked. His men followed him, not just for his rank, but for his honesty. In war, authenticity is power. The Battle of the Bulge showcased Patton's psychological tactics. When the 101st Airborne was surrounded at Bastogne, Patton promised to break through in 48 hours, a feat most thought impossible. The mere promise of Patton's arrival gave hope to the defenders and struck fear into the Germans. His reputation stiffened Allied resolve and made the enemy hesitate. German commanders, fearing Patton's aggression, became cautious and lost momentum. Patton fought the enemy in their minds before his tanks arrived. When the Third Army broke through, it was seen as a miracle of will and reputation. Patton had manipulated morale on both sides, sustaining hope, sowing doubt. The German collapse was as much psychological as military. Patton proved that the perception of power could be decisive. Victory began with belief in Patton and in the legend he created. Today, Europe's battlefields are quiet, the command posts reclaimed by nature. The armies are gone, but the psychological lessons remain. Patton's story shows that history is shaped by individuals and the force of their personality. His understanding of morale and motivation was as vital as any weapon. A commander's greatest asset is the ability to inspire. Patton broke enemy spirit with words as surely as with artillery. The silence of these places invites reflection on the power of leadership. The words spoken here moved men to bravery and drove others to despair. Patton's legacy is not just in battles won, but in how he won them. Communication, presence, and reputation are timeless tools of power. The most powerful weapons are not always steel. They are ideas, words, and will. Patton's voice still echoes here, a reminder that the war for the mind shapes our world. The enduring word is the true legacy of leadership.